Welcome everyone to Train Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggins. So glad to have you on board. If you like the content in which we deliver on a weekly basis, please do us a favor. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into the feed, and go ahead and comment. We do appreciate interacting with you. We're going to be talking about the Athearn Genesis HO Scale SD70 series of locomotives. Now, we originally announced these back in 2024, and I'm happy to say that they are currently in shipping. That means they're on the water from the factory. Depending on when you're watching this video, you should start seeing these in your hobby shops in late June into early July. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get comfortable. Maybe grab the beverage of your choice, and let's get started with another Train Tuesday. Continuing upon the successful SD60 series, back in 1992, EMD debuted the next step in locomotive evolution with the SD70 series. Now, while similarly looking on the outside to the SD60M, the DC drive SD70M featured several external design refinements from the predecessor model. Battery boxes were relocated to the left-hand side walkway immediately behind the cab. A large, boxy forward traction motor blower housing replaced the angular version that was used on the SD60s. The raised walkway duct on the left-hand side of the walkway was eliminated, and an intake for the rear traction motor blower on the left-hand side of the car body, directly under the rear radiator intake grill, was added. Internally, the SD70 boasted improvements as well. The 16-710 GB prime mover was rated at 4,000 horsepower and was coupled to a new alternator design, the AR20. New D70TR traction motors were standard, and controlling all this power and locomotive function was EMD's new EM2000 microprocessor, which boasted more memory, twice the processing speed, and improved locomotive self-diagnostic capabilities compared to the predecessor suite used in the SD60. Even more revolutionary was the inclusion of EMD's patented radial truck design, the HTC-R. This design, which made its debut under the EMD demo SD60 No. 3, replaced the venerable HT-C truck, and it's unique in its ability to shift or even steer the wheel sets laterally through curves, thus resulting in greatly reduced wheel set and track wear, and coupled with the new D70TR traction motors, along with the EM2000 microprocessor, greatly improved adhesion. Now, continuing with the previous practice, EMD built a set of demonstrator SD70Ms, EMD 7000 through 7002, all equipped with the North American safety cab, hence the M designation in the model. These were decked out in an attractive gray, silver, and burgundy paint scheme, and the units traveled all over North America, showing off the latest technology from EMD. Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad requested a 4,300 horsepower version, resulting in the SD75M. As production continued, EMD incorporated their new whisper cab design, resulting in the SD75i. The updated cab of the SD75i was purchased by Santa Fe's successor, Burlington Northern Santa Fe, as well as Canadian National and Ontario Northland. Now again, this run was announced back in 2024. They should be here, depending on when you're watching this video. They should be at Athearn dealers by the end of June, maybe the beginning of July. There's some locomotives in here that I really hope that you pre-ordered, because they are going to sell out quick. But let's talk about the ones that are going to be featured in this release. We're going to start with Union Pacific. Within Union Pacific's large fleet of SD70Ms, variations do exist in paintwork as well as build details. Later production units feature modified cabs and flared radiators. Some recent repaints feature the American flag as well as the Building America slogan. We're starting with unit number 3971. This is a 2015 era model, and it's going to feature front pilot mounted ditch lights, a 5,000 gallon fuel tank, front EMD low snowplow, and then 3971 is unique in that it's got replacement equipment doors right under the cab. You can tell lighter yellow there really a cool feature with the Genesis locomotives. This one also features the K3LA horn. For late 2000s era, we've got unit number 3973, which shares a lot of those details of the previous unit. This too also has replacement equipment doors under the cab. This also has the K3LA horn, and since it's a newer era, we have PTC antennas on the cab. 2013 era, 4354. This has the flat radiators, a non-standard K5LA horn, PTC antennas, and this unit was repainted with the flag and Building America slogan. It's really small, but if you take a real close look next to the Union Pacific shield, you can just barely make it out. It's very small lettering there, but it is there. We're also offering a pair of prime for grime units. Union Pacific by far had the largest fleet of SD70Ms, eventually acquiring 1,452 of these locomotives. As some of these units approach almost 25 years in service time, and the elements have definitely taken their toll on their paintwork as seen here. Now, the next two locomotives that we're going to talk about feature flat radiators, PTC antennas, front round top ditch lights, K3LA horns, standard sunshades, freight style brake wheel, and of course a standard bell. These are all, the next two here are prime for grime. This is a mid-2010s era. Replacement equipment doors under the cab. You can see that pretty easily here. Replacement door under the right-hand side radiator section with partial Building America lettering. Look carefully, you can also see that the first fan radiator fan rather, has been replaced. And you can also notice the slightly faded paintwork. So if you're modeling later Union Pacific, these are going to look really cool on your layout. Here's 4293. It shares some of the same standard details. This is a mid-2010s. It has peeling paint on top of the cab and body. Take a look at the top of the cab. You can see the two-tone gray. That's to simulate the peeling paint. Pictures really don't do it justice. I'll show you this locomotive in the studio later. And of course, it has slightly faded paintwork. Now, if your railroad is power starved and you need some extra power and you're modeling 2021 on, I've got some good news for you. Progress Rail Services Corporation. They have got a locomotive or two for you. In addition to being a subsidiary of Caterpillar since 2006, Progress Rail Services, otherwise known by the reporting marks PRLX, has offered a wide variety of used EMD locomotives for lease, including these former Norfolk Southern SD70M locomotives. Both road numbers that we're going to be offering include front plow, flared 4-panel radiators, offset turbocharger doors, front and rear deck-mounted ditch lights, and spare knuckles on the rear pilot. Now, 2636 is former Norfolk Southern 2636, and 2643 is former Norfolk Southern 2643. Again, doesn't matter what railroad you're modeling. Maybe you're power starved and you need some power. Progress Rail's got a locomotive for you. These two locomotives will be coming in, like I said, by the end of June, beginning of July. A couple of years ago, we posted some pictures of the R.J. Corman 50th anniversary locomotives and kind of asked a what if. And the response was overwhelming, so we had no choice but to offer these locomotives for you. We're offering both road numbers for the 50th anniversary as well as some standard ones. Now, R.J. Corman Railroad operates 19 shortline railroads. They cover about over 1,300 miles of track in 11 different states. R.J. Corman acquired a group of former Norfolk Southern SD70Ms back in 2023 and promptly painted them in these very attractive paint schemes. Now, these four locomotives I'm about to show you will include flared 4-panel radiators, PTC antennas, K5LA horns, front and rear ditch lights. And yes, if you get the Tsunami 2 equipped versions, the ditch lights will alternate when the horn function is activated. This is unit number 1973 in its special 50th anniversary paint scheme. Likewise, we also offer 2023. I really hope you pre-ordered these locomotives because I have a feeling that if you didn't, you may have a hard time finding these. Now we're also offering 2 road numbers in just the standard paint scheme, but since this is Genesis, there is some very minute detailed differences. These units will include all the details that we talked about with the 50th anniversary units, but this locomotive in its standard paint scheme, look carefully, 2645 has large cab side numbers. When you compare that to 2648, you'll see that that has small cab side numbers. This is just one of those details that you get when you invest in the Genesis line, true to the prototype. '23 era Indiana Railroad is another one of those heartland railroads. This is a Class 2 railroad. The Indiana Railroad operates several rail lines in Indiana and Illinois, over 500 miles of track. Most of it is former Illinois Central Gulf. Their headquarters is in Indianapolis, and they also reach Chicago via trackage rights and have connections with most Class 1 railroads. Indiana Railroad acquired several former Norfolk Southern SD70M units back in 2023, and of course promptly painted them in their very attractive paint scheme. We're offering 3 different road numbers. They're all going to have the flared 4-panel radiators per the prototype, PTC antennas, K5 LA horns, and just like the RJ Cormans, they're going to have front and rear ditch lights. If you get the Tsunami 2 equipped versions, those ditch lights will alternate when the horn function is activated. Now you can see we're offering 3 different road numbers without sound or with Tsunami 2 by Soundtracks. Now, if you want to see complete details of these locomotives, you can select the link in the video description below. That will take you to the original announcement. We'll show you all the information that you need, as well as a link to our website. Well, it's time to trigger some of you. We're going to talk about legendary liveries. And in this case, in an alternate timeline, the Western Pacific. The Western Pacific is a beloved fallen flag road, and it's well known for its rugged route and for hosting the famed California Zephyr passenger train. Although the WP ceased to exist as a standalone entity in 1982, with these SD70M units, the Feather River route can still exist in modern times on your model railroad. You may be asking, 6-axle locos on the WP, and it's true, in its time, the WP was an exclusive user of 4-axle power. However, 6-axle power was used on run-through trains over the WP without incident. So these units will be right at home on your layout, especially with their radial trucks. We're offering 2 different road numbers, both with and without sound. These will include details such as flat radiators, M5 horn, front round top ditch lights, standard sunshades, freight style brake wheel, and standard bell. We also included a legendary liveries Arizona and California. Now, the Arizona and California was originally known as the Arizona and California Railway. It was initially constructed in the early 20th century, and its original main line opened in 1907, connecting Matthey with Parker, Arizona. Shortly after the railroad began operations, it became an affiliate of the Santa Fe, and eventually became wholly owned by the much larger Class 1. However, by the 1980s, the Santa Fe was looking to shed unprofitable and low-density branch and secondary lines along its system. This would include the former A&C lines, which was sold to David Parkinson of the Park Sierra Rail Group in May of 1991. The line's motive power was then painted in the attractive green and cream livery of this company. Now, while the ARZC is now owned by Genesee and Wyoming, we're offering these what-if SD70Ms in the popular Park Sierra Rail Group green and cream, as though they had continued under this guise well into the 21st century. 2 different road numbers are being offered, as you can see here, both with and without sound, and they will include flat radiators, M5 horn, Front round top ditch lights, standard sunshades, freight style brake wheel, and a standard bell. And now we go back to 1997 when these locomotives were brand new. These are the Burlington Northern Santa Fe SD70i's. We're offering 3 different road numbers. At 4,300 horsepower, the SD75 offered a 300 horsepower increase over previous SD70 locomotives. In addition to the increase in power, the I model featured an isolated cab, which reduced the noise and vibration. This type of cab is recognized by a seam separating the nose and cab components. The seam is the rubber that dampens the vibration and cuts down on the noise because the cab is not attached directly to the frame on the unit. Now, these 3 locomotives will feature front plows, Nathan K3 LA 3-chime horn mounted on a square bracket. Of course, the isolated cab, as you can see in this image here, turbo bulge. Also unique is the 4-step Santa Fe, later BNSF style walkway, front deck mounted ditch lights, and spare knuckles on the rear pilot. I'm probably showing my age here, but man, I remember when these were brand new power on that brand new railroad. Now let's talk a little bit briefly about the model features. Now the SD70s, they're going to be available in 2 different ways. You can get them DCC ready, which features the quick plug and play technology, 21-pin NEM connector, meaning that you can use the sound decoder of your choice as well as the speaker of your choice. Remember, Genesis locomotives, unless we advertise them as such, do not include a speaker. You'll need to get a speaker. Fortunately, there are some great companies out there that offer really good speakers for our models. Also, you can order it or purchase it as with the onboard DCC decoder with the Soundtrack Tsunami 2 sound. So there's 1 of 2 ways you can get these on your layout. There's a lot of details, much more than I can cover here. So what I recommend is select the link in the video description below. That will take you right to the PDF, and you can see all those details that these models include. Now the minimum radius on these is 18 inches, and I can verify that with my layout. I have an 18-inch radius curve. They go through that no problem. However, recommended is 22. They just look that much better. Trust me, on an 18-inch radius, it looks a little ridiculous, but they will function. Here's our first example. Here's 4293. We talked about this. This is part of our Prime for Grime series. Kind of hard to tell in the studio because I think the lighting is pretty optimal here, but the armor yellow is extremely faded. It's almost a custard yellow. It's not that vibrant orangey yellow that we're used to. You can see up here too, the gray has kind of peeled and chipped off. You can see back here, there's some rust that started to form. This is a great starting point for you guys that are into weathering your locomotives. And this is the perfect example for that. Everything is already muted. It's already, you know, a lighter shade of the armor yellow and the harbor mist gray. It's a really great starting point. And if you're modeling the modern era and you're like me and you like these later EMDs, this is a great model to add to your collection. Now, this one that I've got on the layout is equipped with Tsunami 2. And again, this represents a more modern SD70 because you can see we've got our PTC array on top. So 2015 on up. This is a great locomotive. There's plenty of videos out there, plenty of how-tos on weathering, but a little bit of time at the workbench with some weathering mediums of your choice. And this locomotive is definitely going to look the part of a well-worn veteran of Union Pacific. Let's go ahead and move him, and we'll bring in the next locomotive that I've got here for the studio. Well, I may be a little biased, but this is the favorite one for me out of the group. 8298, of course, one of the SD75i's. BNSF Railway. Interesting note, they were known as Burlington Northern Santa Fe. from their formation in 1995 all the way to 2006 when they changed their logo and their paint scheme and all of that. They just became simply known as BNSF Railway. Now, I can't substantiate this. If there's anybody in the comments that wants to add to this, please do comment that I heard many years ago, back before they settled even on Heritage 2 paint, that originally the Santa Fe, or the BNSF I should say, was going to keep all of their safety cab equipped locomotives in the Superfleet colors like you see here, with some changes, obviously with the BNSF logo on the long hood. And all standard or Spartan cab locomotives were going to stay in Cascade Green. That was something I had heard a long time ago, but like many railfan rumors, those are just rumors. If you heard this too, let me know in the comments. I've not heard anybody else say that, and that's based on a memory from a conversation back in 1998 when these locomotives were only 1 year old. So these locomotives look absolutely stunning in their Superfleet colors. You can see that isolated cab detail right here. Going back to the old days, we've got our GPS dome on the top. A lot of nice detail with these. And the last one I want to show you tonight is the R.J. Corman 2023 50th anniversary locomotive. Really sharp locomotive. Really, this locomotive wears this paint scheme really well. Again, this is a former Norfolk Southern locomotive, so it's going to have a lot of the same details as a Norfolk Southern locomotive. You do have the ditch lights. I've got this on mute so we don't get an echo, but let me turn my ditch lights on. You won't hear the horn, but if I hit the horn, you can see the ditch lights alternate back and forth. And that is standard with the Tsunami 2 equipped versions. Now again, these R.J. Corman ones were highly requested. And if you didn't pre-order, well, your chances of getting one of these, I'm going to let you know, it's probably pretty slim. So hopefully you pre-ordered one. If you did not, contact your Athearn dealer right now. There's a chance that they ordered above customer pre-orders, and they can probably lock you into one or more of these units or any of the other units that we talked about on this program on Train Tuesday. Well, that's all I've got for you on this edition of Train Tuesday. I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some good modeling. And as a reminder, I'm going to be at Midwest Model Railroad in Independence, Missouri, June 18th at 3 o'clock p.m. We're going to have special gifts for the first 50 people that show up. We'll have a Q&A session. I'm planning on doing a live feed from the shop. And we're going to run probably some of these SD70s that you've seen here on their HO layout. So stay tuned for more details. Sign up for the Athearn newsletter. Watch us on social. And again, thank you for joining me. Until next time, everyone. High greens, everyone.